They saw the apartment, the house we moved into. Said, "Oh, I'm just thing for you. I have a leather sofa. It'll be good, perfect for your house." I said to him, "Yeah, but that's very sweet of you and very nice of you, very kind of you, but we don't need a sofa. We don't need a sofa. We have a sofa already. We have a place for it." No, no, no. And he delivered the sofa. That's an example of a person who loves, but missing the respect of, is this the right way to the right foundation for your relationship? The proper foundation for the relationship is fear. Fear means respect, not wishing to offend or overstep one's boundaries. It's very, very important. And on that, love can be built. And when you have respect like that, then the more you see virtues in your case, girls, in your husband, and you see virtues in them, or the husband sees virtues in his wife, the greater is the respect, and on that love grows. And it's a love and an enduring love, because it's based on something that's real. So the bottom line in serving Hashem is to control, it says on bottom page 216, to control the spirit of lust in one's heart and to conquer one's desires so that it will not be wicked for even one moment throughout his whole life. And that's Tur Meirah, turning away from evil. And then do good, and there is no good except for Torah. Nevertheless, bottom of page 217 now. A person has to set aside. Now there's a new idea, and it's a very, very important one. Some people don't like this. I hope that you won't be offended. A person has to set aside specific times to seek means of adjusting your thoughts that you should not want anything that's against Torah and Hashem. How do you do this? How does a person have to seek ideas that will encourage him, or in your case, encourage her, encourage oneself to absolutely loathe the thought of worldly pleasures? For instance, if you see someone who's very, very attractive, beautiful woman, or a very handsome man, just imagine what will they be like in 50, 60 years? What will they look like? Would you still be attracted to them? Well, it all depends on their deeds, on how they behave. I'm sure you've all had enough life experience that there was someone in life that you thought was very attractive. You wanted very much to be friendly with them and to model your character after them. And then you saw that they were very selfish or even mean and self-centered. And no longer did they look so attractive. Just all of a sudden, you didn't want to look at them. You didn't want to hear them. Because you knew that underneath, it's just they're just out for themselves. And that's really, and that's how our sages say that there's nothing more beautiful than modesty. It's not the humility and modesty that's the real source of beauty. Beauty. And the same thing applies to physical things. Or like they say in the Shirim online, 7-layer cake. When a person thinks about what happens to the 7-layer cake after you enjoy it, then you don't enjoy it so much anymore. Said he, taking a drink of milk. And similarly, with regard to all the pleasures of the world, a wise person, Ezehu Chacham, says in Pirkei Avos, who is a wise person who sees the outcome of everything. And what's the ultimate outcome of all of the dainties and all of them good things is that you end up in a place of worms and decay. A sobering thought. I saw a video just 2 days ago when the Rebbe was criticizing, they had gathered clips of when the Rebbe spoke to people about the simcha that they were going to make, the bar mitzvah or the wedding or something. And the Rebbe was very critical of the huge amounts of money that are lavished on making a simcha for the children. And Rabbi Korf, Olav Sholem, and his wife got engaged. They didn't have a lot of money, and they chose to make a wedding in a small synagogue here on Eastern Parkway, which is no longer even there. They turned it into housing from the community council. And they told the Rebbe about it. And the Rebbe said, so much money you're going to spend on your wedding. Do you have any idea how much that would help the cheder that's been established in Morocco? That's enough to pay the expenses for a month or more. So what did they do? They canceled the hall and they sent all the money they were going to give to the hall to the young shliach in Morocco. They had established a class of local girls. And guess what? 20 years later, one of those girls married their son. That was very pleased. And Mrs. Sarah Bransky from Australia, when she got engaged to this young fellow from Russia named Sarah Bransky, they had no money, but they got engaged. And so she thought, how can I make a chasna? We have no money. So you figure most people don't get married on Friday. It's very inconvenient. So that we can get a hall at very inexpensively. And they wrote the Rebbe that they're going to do this, and the Rebbe was very pleased. And the Rebbe answered them, you don't have to spend money on a hall. You could make a chasana in your apartment. All you need is 10 people. All you need is 10 people. And that's what they did. And Baruch Hashem, generations and generations came out from that wedding. The Rebbe was very happy about it. So we have to, the wise person foresees the future, and when we go to enjoy something that looks just absolutely delicious, we have to think, well, what's going to end up with me? What's going to come out of this? And similarly, page 218 now, in the middle. A person has to train himself to thinking that the real source of happiness and delight is that I can be connected to Hashem, who is the creator of heavens and the earth. And I can do something that will be pleasing unto him. And here in Chabad, we can do that by being involved. The Rebbe gives us a lot of things to be involved with. A friend of mine, Olav Sholem, was one of the young shluchim who went to Eretz Yisrael, married a girl from Pittsburgh, and moved to Eretz Yisrael, and he ended up teaching children. He didn't enjoy teaching children. He said he ended up looking at the clock more than the children were looking at the clock. Couldn't wait for the class to be over. And eventually, and he was writing, the Rebbe asked him please to be removed from this position in Shlichus, because it was very difficult for him to do this. And the Rebbe never gave him a chance, never allowed him to resign. And he told someone in the family, you should know that many miracles have been performed for Avram because in the wars, because of his teaching little children. Eventually, the Rebbe said, okay, if you want, you could leave your position. And he left, and he went into the telephone company. He became very big in the company, became very talented. But he became spiritually very depressed because he felt that he betrayed himself by leaving Shlichus of the Rebbe. And so he became very, very morose and despondent. And his friends said, you have to go to see the Rebbe. So he gave in, and he came to see the Rebbe. And the Rebbe was very happy to see him. He was a very wonderful person. The Rebbe said, I didn't hear from you for so long. Why didn't I hear from you? And he said to the Rebbe, I didn't have what to write. Didn't have anything good to report. The Rebbe said, what? You didn't have what to write? Did I not give you enough things to do? And then he felt even worse. He wished he hadn't answered the Rebbe at all. So then the Rebbe said, you should know, if you're walking in the street and you meet someone you know, and you give him a nice warm hello, that's my shlichus. He went like that with his hand. And if you inquire from them, how's their family, how's their wife, and how's their children, that's my shlichus. And if in the course of your conversation you happen to mention that it would be nice to see them in the minyan, or there's a shir or a farbrengen going to take place amongst all the anash, that's my shlichus. It's not so complicated. You just have to know that that's what we want. That's our source of pleasure. He revived, his spirit revived. He returned not to become a teacher of young children. He was very brilliant. He became a mashpia in the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. And he was very beloved of the Talmidim. So that's what it says here. A person should train himself to think about the greatness of Hashem, which we worked on that in the early classes many times. Open your eyes. Look at the world is coming to life. We see the beauties of the spring, and thinking about how Hashem is creating life and giving life to everything in the whole world, and you have the possibility of doing exactly what Hashem wants, not in general, but in particular, because mitzvahs are very particular. Every little thing about a mitzvah is a mitzvah. Setting the table on Friday afternoon is a mitzvah. Hashem takes pleasure in it. Setting out the dishes and the cutlery, the silverware on Friday afternoon is a mitzvah. It's something Hashem is, this is what Hashem wants. How do we know what he wants? Because it's written in the Shulchan Aruch. This is what you do. Taking a shower before Shabbos is a mitzvah. And by doing Hashem's mitzvahs, we connect with Hashem. A mitzvah, the word mitzvah means a connector. Mitzvah is to connect two things together. By doing the mitzvah, we connect our actions with Hashem's will, and our words by learning Torah with Hashem's words, which are in the Torah. And by thinking about the greatness of Hashem, this is the key to everything, thinking about the greatness of Hashem, the smallness, how small we are, and what a great God we have. This connects your thoughts with Hashem's thoughts. And it may not be that we can develop this loathing of evil in our heart. So therefore, then we go to the default position, which is, but we're not going to allow ourselves to do against what Hashem wants. So page 219, we will do the best we can. It's not up to us. And big tzaddikim, Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, when he was dying, said to his Talmidim who came to escort him out of life. And he said, I don't know where they're going to take me. He said, you don't know where they're going to take you. You're the tzaddik of our generation. Because he could consider himself like Rabbah from page 1 of the Tanya, that he's just a Beinoni. But a Beinoni, when he says Kriya Shema, can be like a tzaddik. So maybe he thought, maybe I'm just a Beinoni, but I'm learning Torah the whole time. So because of that, I'm not doing anything bad. I'm fulfilling the mitzvah of do not do anything evil. And what happens if a person start off doing this, like a friend of mine from Milwaukee moved to Eretz Yisrael. He went to the yeshiva there and came 9:30, which is the time for Bochrim to daven in 770, and nobody got up to daven. He didn't understand what was happening. He went to the mashpia, whose name was Rabbi Kesselman. He asked him what's going on. He said, they're meditating on what they learned. He said, what? He says that they're thinking it over. They're trying to think about what they learned. What does it mean to them? He said, I can't do that. He said, you could try. Try. They're doing it for 15 minutes before they daven. Try for 5. See if you can do it for 5 minutes. So he did. Tishrei time, Rabbi Kesselman came to New York and gave a detailed report on every student in the yeshiva in Kfar Chabad to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe asked specifically, how is this boy Cohen from Milwaukee, how is he doing? And he said, well, he's doing Baruch Hashem. He's taken on himself to meditate. The word is hisboinenus, lisboinen, to meditate in Hasidus for 5 minutes. When the Rebbe heard that, he stood up. The Rebbe stood up. He got so excited. And I heard this story from someone who told the story online. But I know the guys. We're still friends. And he says, I don't know what it takes, what it means when the Rebbe stands up. I don't know what it takes that the Rebbe should stand up. But it obviously was very, very significant. And very, very meaningful to the Rebbe. If you want to know what it means that the Rebbe stands up, so we could think back on the story about the Rebbe Maharash, that he went all the way to Paris to speak to this young man. By the way, somebody came over to me after I told the story in 770 on the third day of Iyar, second day of Iyar, the birthday of the Rebbe Maharash. And someone came over to me and says, yeah, I told that story because it's from the Bossi Lagani. It's the first story that Rebbe told in the first Farbrengen. He thanked me for telling the story. He said, but I know more. There's more to this than what you said, because Rebbe even says, who was this young man? He was from a family by the name of Klein. He became the father of an outstanding line of Hasidim in Paris. He was like okay. So by thinking, having set times like my friend, 5 minutes a day, just have a set time when you think about what you learned in the mimer, what we learned in class, a few lines, try to learn a few lines of Tanya by heart. So then, this is called an arousal from below. You're doing your part, and this Hashem can do his part. What is his part? Page 219, as we come down to the bottom. Perhaps after all of this effort of yours, now listen to this. This is very deep. A spirit, we have nefesh, ruach, neshama. A spirit, on the level of a ruach from above, can descend upon a person. On you. And it will be granted that the soul level of the ruach originating, which is connected to the soul of a tzaddik, or a tzaddikus like Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, or the Rebbetzin, or any of the Rebbetzins. My granddaughter, I told you yesterday, my granddaughter had a baby girl, her first child. They called her Dvorah Leah. Dvorah Leah was the daughter of the Alter Rebbe. She gave her life that he should live. She exchanged. She knew his life was in danger because of accusations from heaven that it was not right, that he was revealing too many secrets of God, and his life was seriously in danger. And she made a beis din of big scholars and righteous people, and ordered them to make a psak, a decision of Jewish law, that she could do this. They said, yeah, you're crazy, it's wild, you can't do this. She said, you have to do this. She was a very powerful personality. And a few days after Rosh Hashanah, indeed, she did give up her life, Devorah Leah. So maybe it's from the ruach, the level of ruach of a tzaddik or a tzaddikus can be, and uses the term here, impregnated. A person becomes pregnant. A person can become pregnant with not a physical pregnancy, a spiritual pregnancy. And this, just like the spirit of two people becoming united in the birth, in the conception of a child, spiritually, what he's saying here is it's possible that a person can become pregnant with the spirit of a tzaddik. So that the soul is chained and dominated by the body to which it attaches. Whereas in the case of becoming pregnant spiritually, it is not. The soul of the tzaddik serves as an additional spiritual charge for the soul of the child, of the person that receives it. And in our context, the impregnation of the soul of the Beinoni, right, who cannot control his heart or her heart, that's out of their control, becomes impregnated with the ruach, the level of ruach of a tzaddik or a tzaddikus, as the case may be. And this enables a regular kind of person to experience the kind of delight in Hashem that we call this Abba B'tainugim, love of delights. Our whole delight is to be connected to Hashem. And now you have the soul of the tzaddik working together with you, and you can get it. And that's why David HaMelech says, Simchu tzaddikim b'Hashem. Rejoice, O righteous ones, in Hashem. The righteous should rejoice in Hashem. And why does it say the righteous means in plural? Well, a lot of times the plural means many people, but here it means two aspects of the soul: the natural soul of the Beinoni, and the soul, the additional soul of the tzaddik that has become part of the Beinoni as well. But Tiskayim by Bemis, and the person will really be able to fulfill what it says that he or she should be a tzaddik, and fulfill the vow, the second part of the vow on page 1 of the Tanya, the hey tzaddik, you should be a righteous person. There you go. You're still here physically? So the bottom line of inspiration is that this is possible for us. The first step is to make every effort to turn away from something selfish enjoyment of pleasure, says he, drinking his milk, and to take time to think about the end result of evil, of sensual pleasures, which is decay and rot, and aging. You become old and decrepit and weak, and all the beauty wanes. And contrary to that, you are trying your hardest to stay away from doing, saying, thinking anything that God would not want, as expressed in the Shulchan Aruch, and also to set times that I should be so happy to be able to serve Hashem. Again, one last story that I'll leave you with is a friend of mine named David Karetny, a young fellow originally from Russia, lives here in Crown Heights, was very friendly. I told you the story once before. He was very friendly with Yudel Chitrik, who lived to be 106 years old. And he asked him, said, Rabbi Yudel, what is the secret? How is a Jew supposed to be happy? How do you motivate yourself to be happy? And he would daven and learn every day carefully. Two things you learn from him. One is a person is only allotted a certain number of words and meals in this world. So be careful with your words. And for meals, he said, one a day is enough for me. He was a very skinny guy. One meal a day was all he ate. And he said, what's the secret of serving Hashem with happiness? And he said, be happy you're a Jew. Be happy you are a Jew. That comes when you live to 106 years old. serving God, learning Torah, that's the ultimate conclusion. What greater happiness could there be? Except from there to be able to be Makabel P'nei Mashiach Tzidkenu, Hu Yidaleinu. And that's why the Baal Shem Tov emphasized the importance of happiness and serving Hashem. Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha, to serve Hashem with joy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borin v'fashes rabbis v'chesrein al kel masha barasa la'achayis b'hem nefesh kol choy baruch chay ha'olamim. Thank you very much, girls. I appreciate everything you do for me. Ah. We started the chapter. Ryan, how are you this morning? Mind interrupting you that much?
First have the roll call.
Have a wonderful day.
Excuse me, but maybe like that, but so I know them. Yeah, just it makes sense. These are the one you are for. Otherwise, it's all over. That's great. No. You can have it in the car and just kind of like don't tell you pull it up. That's not these colors. This is something over here. Over here. I will give people. Yeah. You know, I think one. Which kind of thing? Pink. Thanks. Yeah, I do. We've got what? Well, sports and walking? Yes. It's a walk. That's a good thing. Yeah, if you call it. This is cute, though. That is cute. I think this one's really nice. I like that. What is that? Where is it? It's a cider. You buy it. You walk here before? I see it all over the Instagram. Yeah, that's why it looks dirt. But you look at the cute set. I know, it's such a cute set. It's just so cute. I'm holding it. I'm tired. It's all out now. И спрашивали вас, ладно, я писала до того, что я знала, что вы знаете. Что тебе писала на все берете? Случайно. Where are you going? I don't know. I asked to watch her a while ago, but she I didn't answer, so I was asking which one space, which books, or where. I could just text you now. I already texted Wagner on the slides. For leaving behind. I didn't know you guys were convinced school. He was kind of big control. Yeah, but you were so I think she was good. Yes, no, you're not. No, we don't. It's working. You want to have to work. That was good. Do you have another spot? Yeah, no. No, so can I? You're good with them, what with us? And your presence, yeah, it's just one, we have a launching process, you know, show this, no, yes. I don't want to see that, yeah. Not a problem. Which is the it's not.
Wiem, bo za wszystko można powiedzieć, że nie
Nas.